Right now on News 3 this morning, Saturday, flags across the country, including the one over the White House, are flying at half-staff this morning as the country wakes up to the news of former President George H.W. Bush's death.
This is News 3 This Morning, Saturday.
Good morning and welcome to News 3 This Morning, Saturday. It is December 1st. I'm Josh Breder with meteorologist Chris Reese. We'll have more on the former president's life and legacy in just a moment, but first we're tracking a winter storm headed our way December 1st. We're all festive for it.
I know, the 25 days of Christmas, and Mother Nature gave to the weather team another system to track as we come on in to the weekend, starting off December 1st with the possibility of some freezing rain early this morning before transitioning over to some rain. Now here's Doppler track right now. Most of this is farther to our south and west. You can already see the snow beginning to overtake parts of Nebraska, a wintry mix over northern Iowa that's going to be moving into southern Minnesota today. And that's where you have the winter storm warnings. I do think the snow will be heavier there. Winter weather advisories outside of that, those do extend into parts of northern Wisconsin, mainly north of our area, but Crawford, Juneau, and Adams counties are in those winter weather advisories until 12 o'clock on Sunday. That's where we could see more winter weather come into the picture and provide some snow for all of us. But here's how the morning is going to play out. We have to watch temperatures closely because the ground is very frozen. We're going to see some of that rain move on into the picture. In fact, future tracks showing that potential for a brief bout of snow and sleet at the beginning. But as long as the ground is frozen, any rain that falls on it can cause some slick spots to develop. So we will watch that in the morning. Eventually, rain will take over for all of us. So as we go into the afternoon, we could be talking thunderstorms later on tonight, Josh. So it is a little bit of everything on the table, from freezing rain, sleet, thunderstorms tonight, heavy rain and wind, back to some light accumulating snow into Sunday.
All right, you guys are tracking it all.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Chris. We'll see you in just a little bit. Now to that breaking story from overnight. Former President H.W. Bush has died. The World War II hero was president during the collapse of the Soviet Union and during the final months of the Cold War. The 94-year-old passed away overnight at his Houston home. Chris Martinez has more on his life and legacy.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
When George Herbert Walker Bush took the oath of office in 1989, he already had an impressive legacy. World War II hero, Texas oilman, director of the CIA, and vice president. Politics would dominate his life. Bush was born in 1924 in Milton, Massachusetts. On his 18th birthday, he enlisted in the Navy, becoming the youngest fighter pilot in World War II. During an air raid in the Pacific, he was shot down, a rescue famously captured on film.
I knew that if something didn't pick me up, I would be captured. Shortly after returning from the war, he married Barbara Pierce. They would have 6 children and 17 grandchildren.
I think he's the wisest, smartest, most decent, caring person I know.
Bush studied at Yale University. He graduated Phi Beta Kappa in just 2.5 years, but he left New England to make it on his own. He carved out his fortune in the wildcat oil fields of Texas.
What a day!
In the 60s, Bush turned to politics. He was elected to Congress in 1966 and became a power player in the Republican Party.
Leaving the door open.
In 1980, he ran unsuccessfully against Ronald Reagan for the GOP nomination, then agreed to be Reagan's running mate. He was Reagan's vice president for 8 years before becoming the 41st president of the United States.
I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
During his one term in the White House, Bush played a key role in the reunification of Germany. He also took on Saddam Hussein for invading Kuwait, launching Operation Desert Storm, the first Gulf War.
A new world order can emerge, a new era.
Bush formed a coalition of 30 nations to liberate Kuwait in just 6 weeks, but he was criticized for not removing Iraq's defiant leader. After the war, the economy slowed down.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Bush was forced to break that campaign promise and raised taxes. As the economy continued to sink, so did his approval ratings. And in 1992, he lost the election to Bill Clinton. In later years, the former rivals raised millions for victims of the tsunami in Southeast Asia and Hurricane Katrina. Bush remained active during retirement. He saw his oldest son become president, and another son, Jeb, served 2 terms as Florida's governor. He even went skydiving to celebrate his 80th, 85th, and 90th birthdays.
Can't play golf anymore, but I still can jump out of a plane.
But in his final years, Bush's health deteriorated, and he developed a form of Parkinson's that made it difficult to walk. He used a wheelchair during a 2011 visit to the White House when President Obama awarded him with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. In 2018, Bush was at his wife's side holding her hand when she passed at their Houston home. He called her the most beloved woman in the world, his devotion to her to the end, never failing. Chris Martinez, CBS News.
President Bush's death comes just 8 months after the passing of his former wife, former First Lady Barbara Bush. Right now, people in Alaska are waking up to day one in what the governor says will be a long recovery process. A 7.0 magnitude earthquake rattled the state yesterday, followed by several aftershocks, causing widespread damage. There have been no reports of injuries or deaths so far. A man who used to live here in Madison felt the quake at his office just about 50 miles outside of Anchorage. News 3 Skyped with him Friday. Matt Hill says he's felt quite a few earthquakes, even some magnitude 4 and 5s, but he says it was immediately obvious that this one felt much stronger. Everyone in his office started running for the exit when the shaking started, and it continued for about a minute and a half. He says just trying to walk, he felt like he was about to fall over.
Just trying to walk, it's like you're down at the Great Dane at about 5 beers. It was crazy trying to get out because you're just swinging back and forth, and vehicles were kind of tipping over, and they didn't like fall over, but they're just kind of bouncing back and forth, and it was pretty wild.
He says as soon as all of his employees try to go back inside, the ground shook again. They've been feeling aftershocks since. UW Hospital says a hot water system may be to blame for 5 patients being diagnosed with a type of pneumonia, one who died this week. To avoid that bacteria that causes Legionnaire's disease, it's important to keep an eye on plumbing at home as well. It's spread through hot water mist, like in a shower, and is usually seen in people with low immune systems. According to the Madison water utility, bacteria can build in your water system if it's sitting stagnant. So running that water to make sure it turns over is important.
We do a lot of work to make sure the water, when it gets to your home, is safe, it's disinfected, it's ready to go. But once it gets there, you know, all that plumbing inside your home really needs to be taken care of.
Madison Water Utility also recommends getting a plumber to flush out your hot water system if you have any concerns. There's a new partnership in Rock County helping domestic abuse survivors and their pets get the care they need. The Beloit Domestic Violence Survivors Center and Humane Society of Southern Wisconsin are partnering to launch a program to foster pets of domestic abuse survivors. While many survivors leave pets behind when they escape domestic abuse, others do not leave abusive relationships for fear of having to leave their animals behind. The new program will offer foster homes for the pets of survivors for up to 90 days while abuse survivors work with the center's staff to set goals and create stability. It is modeled off of a similar program in Dane County and is set to launch next month. 8 minutes past 5 right now, and the Packers have to win their game tomorrow against Arizona if they want a chance at the playoffs. Green Bay is 0-6 on the road this season, most recently falling to the Minnesota Vikings last week. Now it is a must-win situation for the team from here on out. The Packers are about a 2-touchdown favorite against the Cardinals. It would seem Sunday's weather forecast won't help the road team either, with snow changing to rain, some wind, and temperatures in the mid-30s. Aaron Rodgers would like that temperature even lower.
Oh yeah, 15, 10, 5. Colder the better. You know, it's a West Coast team playing, not West Coast, but it's a Western United States team playing a noon Central game. Colder the better. And then we got a dome team coming up. Colder the better. So I hope it gets even colder. I hope it snows, and that's playing downhill for us.
Tomorrow, the Packers will return to Lambeau to play Arizona. Kickoff is set for noon. So for anyone who's upset about how the Packers are performing this season, let's just take it back to the good old days for a moment. For the first time in 20 years, Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre and a bunch of his Super Bowl 31 teammates will be back in Milwaukee. They're having a reunion autograph show at State Fair Park today. Admission is $7 at the door, then you pay for each autograph you'd like to get. Favre will be joined by 30 other members of the championship team, including Leroy Butler, Gilbert Brown, and Antonio Freeman. Right now, the nationwide Christmas tree shortage is driving up prices across the country. Wisconsin's no different, and this summer's weather could limit the tree selection even more for many Christmases to come. Jensen Trees in Verona had a little over an acre that got flooded out with the heavy rainstorms this summer, losing most of the young trees under 3 inches in that area. The Jensens say the best thing for them to do is remain flexible and resilient. But what's tricky is Christmas trees are a longer-term crop and that the average cycle from planting to harvesting takes about 8 to 12 years. After the recession last decade and the challenging growing seasons due to weather, they're left with a high demand and a low supply.
Our seasons used to be 6 weeks long, or from the day after Thanksgiving through up to Christmas. And we close now 2, maybe 3 weeks in, so we just don't have as many trees, and there's a lot more people.
The Jensens say Wisconsin actually has some of the best Christmas tree crop in the country. One of the more popular trees here are the Fraser firs. The average cost for a tree nationwide right now is around $75. Madison police hope you'll consider helping donate tutors rather than toys this holiday season. Officers in the West District started the Community Reading Project to send teachers and reading specialists to the homes of at-risk kids. They say the idea came about after they saw crime rates spike with many of the perpetrators kids. Officers say that when kids are not given the tools and support they need, they start to disengage and lose interest in school, turning to crime. Madison police have a goal of paying for tutors for 30 kids, which will cost more than $30,000.
The initial part of this program will be for those kids that we've had contact with in the police realm of this, and that we also know are behind in reading skills. As this program is funded more seriously, or we find a greater need for this and we prove the success of it, we would encourage anyone that is behind in reading at the youth age to be part of it.
So far, police have raised $12,000. If you'd like to help this holiday season, the Madison Community Policing Foundation is now accepting donations online and by mail for a newly created Community Reading Fund. You can find links on channel3000.com. Later this morning, Monroe Street will be bustling as the holiday glow on Monroe kicks off. It will start with a parade, complete with the Badger Trolley. Santa will be there to take pictures with the kids. There's also a treasure hunt, a book sale, and caroling and snacks at some of the shops along Monroe. That street was reopened in both directions for the first time last week after months of construction. The parade starts at 10 o'clock at Hotel Red. The event runs until 5. Speaking of holiday festivities, there's a whole slew of places to get some unique handmade Christmas gifts this weekend. Today is the Fair Trade Holiday Festival at the Monona Terrace, featuring 50 vendors from 40 different countries. The Goodman Community Center is also hosting its Crafty Fair in the Brassworks building with unique Wisconsin-made gifts. And the Holiday Fest Arts and Crafts Fair will have handmade jewelry, baskets, pottery, and much more at the Warner Park Recreation Center. We have details about all of those and the other holiday fairs in the area on our website, channel3000.com. Santa with his full-grown beard won't be the furriest one celebrating the holidays at an event this weekend. The Dog Den off Fish Hatchery Road is hosting Santa Paws. For $10, you, your family, or your pet can get a portrait with St. Nick. Proceeds from the event will go to SARS Promise, which supports canine and human cancer research. The photos start at 11 this morning. Well, you're probably going to run into a whole bunch of Santas if you find yourself in downtown Madison this afternoon. If you happen to see a bunch of St. Mick's, Rudolphs, Grinches skipping around downtown, no one's trying to steal Christmas. It's all part of the Run Santa Run 5K. Runners will start at the Capitol Square at 3, then head east down Mifflin to North Baldwin before turning on to East Dayton and looping back to East Mifflin and around the Capitol. The Capitol Square will be closed between 1 and 6:30, and traffic won't be allowed to cross the route while runners are going through. Madison Police will be there to help direct traffic during the race. 5:14 this morning. If you're heading out today or tomorrow, you're going to want to stay tuned. It's a busy morning in the News 3 Weather Center. Here's a live look over the Capitol this Saturday morning where we're expecting rain and snow and everything in between this weekend. Chris is tracking it all next in his first alert forecast on News 3 This Morning, Saturday.
It's a pretty raw Saturday across southern Wisconsin as those wind gusts begin to increase. We're going to see more of that going through the morning. We're also going to see a rise in the rain and snow today. So we do have alert days for today and into your Sunday. The alert day for today, it's really just a brief window that early on this morning we could get a touch of some freezing rain, sleet, and snow before transitioning over to rain. We're watching the radar right now. Here comes that system moving in out of the south. The overall bigger picture shows you the heavier snow is starting to fall across parts of the plains, central Nebraska, really getting a thumping of snow coming down right now. That is also where we find winter storm warnings, and those winter storm warnings come as close as extreme southeastern Minnesota. But the thing is, the storm, which is typically a storm that would bring a great track for snow around here, has to manufacture its own cold air. It doesn't have a lot of cold air to tap into. So the flow that we are going to be in as we go through the rest of the afternoon is actually one that warms up the layers of the atmosphere. And so that's why we're going to see that transition over to rain. But as we go into Sunday, we get in on the colder flow that transitions over things to snow, plus an Arctic high coming in out of Canada is going to help cool things off, especially as we go towards next week. But let's look outside right now. Of course, it is very foggy out there. The temperature 33, so we're having a hard time getting rid of that cold air that we have out there initially, though I do think we'll have a better chance of doing that, especially as we get in on some warmer air moving into the picture later on throughout the day. More 30s showing up to our south, but you look towards the Dells and points north, we are below freezing, and that's where I do think we're going to have a better chance at seeing some of that snow later on. Here's some of our models just taking you hour by hour Notice that brief burst of some sleet and snow at the onset of the precip early. That goes on over to rain through the afternoon. We may even see some strong thunderstorms. Yes, thunderstorms in this part of the area later on tonight with temperatures that'll be in the 30s. Again, though, it will be very windy. We're talking sustained winds of 25 miles per hour, gusting upwards 35, 40 miles per hour. So it will be a very windy day. Keep that in mind. Then we go into tomorrow. That's where the wind directions begin to change. Everything turns to snow at that point. We will have the snow showers going all the way into your Monday morning. And as far as how much snow, we're talking generally less than an inch for us, but upwards of 6, 7 inches as you get north of the Dells towards Camp Douglas. So we will be watching that very closely. That's the other reason for our alert day. There are winter weather advisories there as we go through Sunday at noon. But by the time we get you through this system, we do cool off. A chance for snow Friday, but we are not getting out of the 20s from Tuesday through probably next Tuesday. It's going to be cold for quite some time.
Oh, wow. Not even winter yet. It's very winter-like out there.
Absolutely.
All right, Chris. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Time right now is 5:20 this morning. One of the biggest bands in the world right now is bringing their concert back to the big screen for an encore performance. It is the perfect weekend to hunker down inside and watch a movie. Will's next with your 3 things to watch this weekend. Stick around. This is News 3 This Morning, Saturday.
We do have a lot of fog out there this morning. Be careful. Some of that fog is freezing on some of those surfaces that are below freezing. Thankfully, though, the air temperature now 33 degrees. The farther we get above freezing, the better chance we will have for those ground temperatures to do the same. And I do think as we head towards lunchtime, we'll warm up to about 34 degrees, and then we'll have a wintry mix moving in that ultimately will transition over to rain. So here's future track at 10:30. You can actually see the wintry mix that's falling. That's a pocket of cold air. Most temperatures, though, will be warming above freezing as we head into the afternoon. And then by tonight, we could even be hearing rumbles of thunder before more snow comes back into the picture as we head into your Sunday. Josh?
Thanks, Chris. Just about 5:25 right now. The Lion King has long been considered one of the most popular Disney films of all time, and the upcoming live action looks like it's only going to reinforce that. When the first teaser trailer for the new film dropped a little more than a week ago, it racked up a massive 225 million views online in just 24 hours. That makes it the most viewed Disney trailer ever. Now the teaser is also the second most viewed trailer from any studio of all time, second only to the Avengers Infinity War trailer. In the new film, James Earl Jones reprises the role of King Mufasa, and Donald Glover takes on the voice of Simba. The film hits theaters in July. Searching for a way to get into the holiday spirit this weekend? Our Will Loper is here to help. Here are this week's picks for 3 things to watch.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, sweetheart. Where are you?
Study group. I'm gonna go all night.
Oh, one more thing. I want to know about the final.
New on home video this week is Searching.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm calling to report a missing person.
Okay, who is this regarding? My daughter.
John Cho plays a man whose daughter goes missing, and he attempts to find her using her laptop and tracing her digital footprint.
Did see her eat lunch alone.
On Thursday?
Every day.
You don't think she's involved with anything serious?
I know my daughter.
We're not really that close.
She has friends, right?
Kind of.
Why did you invite her to study group?
Trying to get into Berkeley next year.
Searching is available to rent or buy everywhere now.
I know my daughter.
I'm trying to help you find my daughter. The script I'm starting, it's about flowers. Oh. Nobody's ever done a movie about flowers before. So there are no guidelines. What about Flowers for Algernon? Well, that's not about flowers. Oh, okay. And it's not a movie. Sorry, I never saw it.
This week marks the 13-year anniversary of adaptation.
To begin, how to start. I'm hungry. I should get coffee. Coffee would help me think. But I should write something first, then reward myself with coffee. Coffee and a muffin. Okay.
Nicolas Cage stars as a screenwriter tasked with adapting a novel about orchids and finds it impossible.
The book has no story. There's no story.
All right, make one up. I mean, nobody in this town can make up a crazy story like you. You're the king of that.
Oh, he also plays his twin brother Donald, who's also writing a movie.
I'm putting in a chase sequence. So the killer flees on horseback with the girl, the cops after them on a motorcycle. And it's like a battle between motors and horses, like technology versus horse.
Adaptation is available to rent or buy everywhere now.
I've written myself into my screenplay. That's kind of weird, huh?
Loyal readers, it's been 349 days since I said yes to the love of my life, Richard Bevan Charlton, King of Aldovia.
And start getting in the mood for the holidays with A Christmas Prince, The Royal Wedding, now streaming on Netflix.
Somehow, through all this insanity, I'm still me, even though I'm about to become queen of a small country.
Rose McIver plays Amber, who finds herself overwhelmed with wedding planning and the responsibilities of becoming queen.
I can't see.
We are looking for you, darling.
It's perfect.
I'm looking for something more contemporary.
Aldovia has the traditions.
Life in a fishbowl takes getting used to.
You're going to do a brilliant job.
A Christmas Prince, The Royal Wedding is available to stream on Netflix now.
Could you turn to the left? Down? Right?
Happy watching. Those are the 3 things you need to watch. And this is Will Loper for News 3 This Morning, Saturday.
From movies to music, a big screen encore for K-pop sensation BTS. The group's documentary burned the stage the movie is heading back into theaters worldwide after a record-setting run. The film will also debut in India. Fans in the U.S. can see it this coming week. 5:29 right now, and still to come, another check of today's top stories. We'll hear why Monroe Street businesses are preparing for a busy weekend. And if you're shopping for some holiday gifts, you might want to head to a local bookstore. That's where millions of Americans are turning for the first time in a decade. The news is back on News 3 This Morning, Saturday. Bookstores are booming. It's a big change from just a decade ago when store after store saw falling sales and winding crowds. Why many independent retailers are seeing surging sales this holiday season.
This is News 3 This Morning, Saturday.
Good morning and welcome back to News 3 This Morning, Saturday. It is December 1st. I'm Josh Breiter. Meteorologist Chris Reese is tracking a very wintry weather, which may affect your plans in just a little bit. But first, here's what's making news this morning. Former President George H.W. Bush has died at 94 years old. He was the 41st president of the United States and the father of the 43rd. President Bush was the last veteran of World War II to serve as president. During his tenure, he helped guide the nation and the world out of a 4-decade Cold War that had carried the threat of nuclear annihilation. Bush was preceded in death by his wife of 73 years, Barbara, in March. Funeral arrangements have yet to be announced, but this morning, flags around the country are flying at half-staff in honor of the president. There's a new partnership helping domestic abuse survivors and their pets get the care they need in southeast Wisconsin. The Beloit Domestic Violence Survivor Center and Humane Society of Southern Wisconsin are partnering to launch a program to foster pets of domestic abuse survivors. While many survivors leave pets behind when they escape domestic abuse, others do not leave abusive relationships for fear of having to leave their animals behind. The new program is modeled off of a similar program in Dane County and is set to launch next month. Monroe Street will be bustling later this morning as the holiday glow on Monroe kicks off. It will start with a parade complete with the Badger Trolley. Santa will be there as well to take pictures with the kids. There's also a treasure hunt, a book sale, caroling, and snacks at shops along Monroe. That street was reopened in both directions for the first time last week. This after months of construction. The parade starts at 10 o'clock at Hotel Red. The event runs until 5. The Packers have to win their game tomorrow against Arizona if they want a chance at the playoffs. Green Bay is 0-6 on the road this season, most recently falling to the Minnesota Vikings last week. Now it is a must-win situation for the Pack from here on out. Kickoff is at noon against Arizona at Lambeau Field tomorrow. And Chris, it's going to be an active day. Probably going to want to grab that poncho if you're heading to the Packer game.
Yeah, if you're headed to the Packer game, a poncho, maybe even an ice scraper. We're going to have some snow falling by the time we get you towards tomorrow night. No snow falling out there right now. Here's radar. Most of any kind of action is farther to our south and west. We've got some rain coming through parts of eastern Iowa and northern Illinois as we speak. We walk on over to Nebraska. This is where the heavy snow is starting to fall down now across parts of central Nebraska. We're going to watch that heavy snow spread to the north and east as we go throughout the day. Some of that could reach parts of our viewing area, especially places like Juneau and Adams County. But winter storm warnings through parts of Nebraska all the way into southeastern Minnesota. We have winter weather advisories through parts of northern Wisconsin. That does include Green Bay, but that also includes Juneau and Adams County along with Crawford County. Out to the west, those winter weather advisories, do go until 12 o'clock on Sunday there. Here's how things will likely play out early today. We're watching the temperatures very closely because models have been very warm on these temperatures compared to actuality. But if accurate, it'll be around 33 degrees as that rain starts. Some surfaces could be below freezing. We get a little intrusion of colder air in here, and that's why I do think things could start off as a wintry mix. We could see some rain, sleet, and snow initially before that goes all over to rain. A slushy accumulation possible with that snow coming in as well. Once the rain, though, takes over, it's going to be a pretty blustery day. And then by tonight, we actually could see a small line of some strong thunderstorms moving in from the south and west. A few rumbles of thunder can't be moved out. We're not expecting severe weather, though. Of course, it is rather cold. But that's why we have the alert days for today, alert days for Sunday, as well as we'll have that mix changing back over to snow, and we could see some light accumulation with that. Traffic-wise, though, things are looking good for now. It's rather foggy out there, but the Beltline at Todd Drive is just wet. We aren't concerned with any icing at the moment. We'll watch that throughout the day, but so far, no issues showing up across the city of Madison this morning. Josh?
Thanks, Chris. A new initiative is aiming to recruit more veterans for Wisconsin's workforce. The state is spending almost $2 million on the Mission Wisconsin campaign, attracting military personnel when they leave the service. More than 45 Wisconsin employers are expressing interest in meeting with and potentially hiring veterans for work. 5:37 right now. This holiday season, a growing number of shoppers are heading to a familiar place, but one they haven't turned to in years: independent neighborhood bookstores. After being nearly wiped out a decade ago, small bookstores are now booming. Here's CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
Dane Neller, the owner of Shakespeare & Company, just opened his third indie bookstore.
Bookstores are back, and they're back in a big way.
And is proving the naysayers wrong.
I'm not giving the hyperbole, I'm not. It was a record-breaking for us.
This Manhattan sanctuary is part of a resurgence of independent bookstores nationwide. Here, customers can stumble upon a new author or linger over a latte.
The book cover's being bound now.
While a special machine can print a book in 3 minutes.
There it is.
If it's not in stock. The rebound comes after years of competition from deep discount superstores and online behemoth Amazon, which together turned small shops into an endangered species. According to the American Booksellers Association, the number of independent bookstores fell by approximately 40% between the mid-90s and 2009. They have recovered some of those closures, and this year, sales are up more than 5% over a year ago.
Well, can I help you find anything else? I think I'm going to pick one of these too.
The localism movement has been a driving force. Customers are increasingly spending in their neighborhood stores.
I'm not trying to compete with online retailers. I'm trying to compete on what I do best.
Orrin Tyker is the CEO of the American Booksellers Association.
When you come into a store like this,
and you don't know what you want, and you browse these shelves, you're going to find books that you didn't know existed. If you are engaged in your community, curating your content, having people work the store that are knowledgeable and passionate about books, yeah, there absolutely is a formula for success.
That specialized service, combined with a sense of community, is putting the indie bookstore back on consumers' holiday shopping lists. Jill Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
5:39 right now. Are you looking for something to do this weekend? Well, we've got some ideas for you and the family. Today begins a month jam-packed with fun activities for kids of all ages happening at the Overture. We'll have more on the Kids in the Rotunda series when News 3 This Morning Saturday returns. Kids in the Rotunda is a popular program at the Overture Center, helping connect children with the arts. We highlight each month's performances on the first Saturday of every month. And joining us now to talk about what is happening in December is Mary Rose. Good morning, Mary. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, thanks so much for having me back.
So talk a little bit about this program. We've had you on the program before, but you have a couple months under your belt so far.
Yeah, so Kids in the Rotunda, for those who haven't been able to join us yet this season, is a really wonderful free performance series offered most Saturdays, October through April. Show times are 9:30 a.m., 11 a.m., and 1 p.m. The 1 p.m. show is also American Sign Language interpreted, and it's a wonderful opportunity for kids to come out and learn about the arts.
And why is that it's so important here in our community to get the kids involved?
Yeah, so this is a good stepping stone for kids to start exploring their creativity in a really kid-centered, fun, comfortable environment. And it's also a great place for families to get to know one another and to nurture the parent-child relationship in a really fun environment. And we also display a lot of different types of art. So we have juggling and dance and music. And we also try to highlight a lot of different cultures as well. So it's a great place for children to explore cultures they might not be familiar with.
Awesome. Well, we've got some good ones coming up this month. Talk a little bit about what people can expect on the incoming Saturdays.
Yeah, so today we are welcoming local musical talent Yid Vicious. They're a lot of fun. It's a big band, and they will be helping us celebrate Hanukkah and the winter season with some Yiddish beats. And after the 11 a.m. performance today, we are actually premiering a Brazilian cartoon. Ooh. So visiting artist and scholar Vivian Hugero, who's currently working at UW-Madison, is premiering a show here at Kids in the Rotunda, first time ever, and next year it will be aired nationally in Brazil. So I highly recommend everybody come out to the 11 o'clock show and stay for that premiere. And then on December 8th, we are welcoming back Kalanjali School of Indian Dance, and they are one of our highlights every year. They bring about 30 to 40 student dancers who will be showing Southern Indian dance with full traditional costumes. So it's a really beautiful display. And after that performance, we invite families to head over to Madison Public Library. At the children's room, they can do crafts and read some books related to that day's performance. And then on December 15th, we are going to be celebrating in true Wisconsin style with 6-time Hall of Fame award-winning polka player Mike Schneider and pint-sized polkas. So that's going to round out our season. And after that performance that day, we're inviting families to get active with MSCR's Fit to Go.
All right, you guys are staying busy. We'll get this up on channel3000.com if you want to learn more. Mary, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Stay with us. There's more news for this morning, Saturday, right after this. Soon, please let us know so we can show their picture on TV.
Alert days in the forecast for today and tomorrow as we track the next winter storm to impact parts of the Midwest, and that will bring impacts here to south central Wisconsin as well, at least on the minor side of things. We're watching the radar right now. You can see at least a little bit of light rain starting to sneak into the picture as it works its way towards the north. A lot of the heavier precipitation, that's back towards the south and west, parts of central Nebraska really getting in on a thumping of snow as of now. But as we pay attention to this system gradually moving towards the north and east, eventually we will begin to see rain and snow develop in those areas that are dry as of now. But in the meantime, we do have those winter storm warnings all throughout Nebraska, winter weather advisories as you work your way closer to Wisconsin. And here's one of the things about this storm. Typically, this is a storm track that would bring us a lot of snow around here. And this system does have a lot of moisture with it as well. The problem is there's usually a lot of cold air up in Canada that these systems can tap into. That is not the case this time. Our cold air is going to be retreating, which means this system actually has to manufacture its own cold air. And so that flow out of the southeast, it's typically a warm flow. But how this is going to manufacture its own cold air is as you get higher up in the atmosphere, the temperatures are colder, the air cools off, and as it begins to sink back down on the western side, you end up with a little bit of a colder pattern. And so that's why we're going to have back-end snows, and that's actually going to be aided with some colder air, oddly enough, that will be coming out of Canada behind this system. Outside right now, of course, it is very foggy. We've seen that fog all day. The temperature 33 degrees, and we're gradually warming up, which is what we want for the sake of ground temperatures warming so we don't have any freezing rain. We're colder once you get towards the dells and points to the north. But here we are. We'll get that burst of snow early at the onset, transitioning over to rain through the afternoon, perhaps even some lightning and thunder later on tonight. It's also going to be very gusty. We're going to see those winds sustained at 20, 25 miles per hour, gusting upwards to 30 or 35. So keep that in mind today. Now, by the time we get you into Sunday, here comes the snow coming back in as this system comes to an end. That will leave us with the snowflakes flying. It won't be a lot of snow for us. We are talking generally less than an inch here in the Madison area. However, as you work your way farther towards the north, that's where several inches of snow could be possible, and that's why there are winter weather advisories for our friends to the north as well. But behind it, man, we do certainly cool off for this time of the year. We are talking temperatures not getting out of the 20s, a chance for some light snow as we get you towards Friday. But it's going to be a cold period as we go through the next several days. And speaking of that chance for thunder tonight, here's thunder in Baraboo.
Aww.
If you're walking your cat today, best of luck.
Yes, best of luck indeed. What is the weekend in the 608?
And here's a look at what's going on around town.
First off, the Christmas season is off to a strong start this weekend. In the music category, we have some great options. This first one brings together three powerful groups: the Madison Youth Choir, the Mount Zion Gospel Choir, and the Madison Symphony Orchestra for the show Madison Symphony Christmas. You can see this one all weekend long at the Overture and start practicing for the audience Christmas Carol sing-along.
Even this time of year is a great time to visit the Old Brick Botanical Gardens. This weekend kicks off a month of holiday concerts every Sunday afternoon in December. The first concert will be the first concert on the 2nd, there we go, will feature folk, jazz, Celtic, and even Latin music to get you in the spirit of the season. The shows will all start at 2 o'clock.
You can't let a weekend go by without doing a little bit of shopping. Go right to the source of some of our state's most talented artists and get one-of-a-kind gifts at the Crafty Fair. This event takes place only 3 weekends a year. This weekend will be both today and tomorrow at the Brassworks building at the Goodman Center. Handmade kids' shoes, coffee mugs, and soaps are among the unique items for sale.
Here's one of my favorite things, and it's an idea for a family outing later this morning. It's called a snowy nap. Now, here's the deal. If you take the kids to Madison Central Library to kick off your Saturday, you'll get to join award-winning children's book author and illustrator Jan Brett as she reads The Snowy Nap, starring Hedgie the Hedgehog. The event is free, and it starts at 10 o'clock today.
And since it's almost the holidays, how about heading to Stoughton to see Almost a Christmas Carol? It's a delightful holiday show filled with singing, dancing, heartfelt moments, and lots of holiday cheer as a group of students try to find the true meaning of the holidays. There are 2 shows at 1:30 and 7:30 today inside the Stoughton High School auditorium.
And as always, you can get this month's Madison magazine for all of the best in the Madison area.
5:53 right now, and there's a full hour of News 3 this morning ahead at 8. And then in our news at 6 and 10 tonight, we're checking out the holiday festivities from that Santa run around the square to Monroe Street's first big holiday celebration since reopening. But first, we'll have an updated look at your weekend forecast when News 3 This Morning Saturday returns. December 1st, we're all decked out, and we're going to be getting a lot of December weather out there.
That's right. A little bit of everything in the forecast. That's why we do have an alert day. We're going to start out the day with a little bit of sleet, freezing rain, and snow before going over to rain as we head into the afternoon. Overnight tonight, a wintry mix ending is all snow into Sunday, and oddly enough, we could even see some thunder overnight tonight for this time of the year. So truly a little bit for everybody there. That's Mother Nature's gift to us, followed by just 12 days of 20s. So it certainly gets cold once we get through the weekend, but we're going to have to watch the weather very closely today.
All right, Chris, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again at 8 o'clock.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.